Hello and welcome to the Patrick Show for the week of November 20th. A couple big things been happening this week, so let's get to it. First of all, couple days ago, in Iraq, there was a suicide truck bombing that killed at least 100 people. The attack has been claimed by ISIS, and 100 people dead, at least 32 have been injured. The attack took place in a town of Hilla, which is like 100 kilometers south of the capital city of Baghdad. Apparently, they were targeting 7 buses of Iranian Shiite pilgrims that were passing through, and it's a real tragedy. Um, and so hopefully we kind of get everything figured out in that area, and so this doesn't continue to happen. Um, Also, Fidel Castro just died. So that's gonna be interesting. So Fidel Castro, the iconic but often criticized leader of Cuba, um, has just died a few days ago, and he is succeeded. Succeeded. His brother has taken over the country, Raul Castro. Officially, Raul has been president for like last year, 2 years. Um, but obviously, it's gonna be interesting to see now that Raul doesn't really have the idea of a living Fidel over his shoulder. It's gonna be interesting to see how Raul, if he just continues with most of his brother's ideologies, or if he starts to shift. Uh, and it'll be interesting to see how U.S. Cuba relations shift now that we just have Raul. Again, I mean, uh, Cuba is in a period of mourning until December 4th. Um, but looking forward, though, I'm interested to see how uh, our relationship with Cuba improves. Um, Getting back to America, Jill Stein, is trying desperately to remain in the news by pioneering a recount vote in the swing states. So she's focusing on in Wisconsin and Pennsylvania and one other state, but she's calling for a recount in several of the swing states, um, starting with Wisconsin most in first. The Clinton campaign just recently hopped on, showing their support. However, this whole thing has just been been largely dismissed by the Trump camp as a scam, and their claim is that this is just a move by Jill Stein, like a final crowdfunding campaign to line Jill's pockets after her thrashing in the polls. Um, Jill has, started this campaign because, of course, Russian hackers could have easily influenced the election to help Donald Trump, despite the prevalence of paper ballots and non-internet connected voting booths. Come on, Jill. At least on your website, say that you're going to guarantee that all of this money is going to go towards this campaign, so there's at least not a question that you're lining your pockets. You're really scraping the bottom of the barrel here, Jill. Uh, but, just easy to blame the Russian hackers, I guess. The Chinese a couple of years ago, now it's the Russians. Who knows who it'll be next year. But since we can't escape Trump, may as well get on with talking about him. There recently was a settlement in the Trump University case that everyone's been talking so much about. Late last week, Trump agreed to a $25 million settlement on the Trump University case, which is a big win for the 6,000 people, the victims involved. But they didn't get him to actually overtly admit to him actually cheating anybody. So they may have won the lawsuit, but they really didn't get anything out of it. Where it really matters, at least, money is money. Trump can, he shits $100 bills, for Christ's sake. So 25 million is a drop in the bucket for him, and the real win would have getting him to admit to some significant wrongdoing, but that didn't happen. So it's just me another case. I think right now, last number I saw, there's like 70 something pending lawsuits against him walking into the presidency. So that's gonna be interesting to see how those if those end up impeding his ability to be president because he's got to show up to court every couple months. So that'll be funny to see how that turns out. And finally, um, probably the one of the most disappointing things I've seen in a long time. Um, and I'm keeping track of the news in America, and it's all pretty disappointing. So you know how all over America, everyone's been bitching out Facebook because Facebook's been giving us fake news and trying to influence the election, and Facebook's been getting thrashed by the court of public opinion about their fake news and how they're like intentionally only providing like liberal news stuff in their sidebar. We need to stop that discussion and like put it on side because recently Stanford just recently released a study that evaluated the ability of 7,800 students were involved in this study. Middle school, high school, college, across 12 different states were evaluated on their ability to tell fake news from real news. And guess what Stanford found? We're fucking shit at it. The results were described as, quote, dismaying, bleak, and a threat to democracy. When people start saying that about our ability to discern real information from fake or biased information, we need to stop bitching at Facebook and start learning what actual news looks like. Just to give you can read more about this. There's links below if you want to read further. But 80% of middle school students in this poll responded to, like, they took sponsored content as facts. High school students, most of them didn't even verify the photos they're looking at to even look to see if the account that they were put up by looked remotely legitimate. And college students, they had trouble weeding out like biased news sources, like obviously biased, like tweets from activist groups. They couldn't weed them out from actual news sources. So again, how can we bitch that we're getting fake news when we obviously don't really have at least the younger generations obviously don't have any idea what real news looks like. So we need to get our act together and figure that shit out. But rant over. That's the show for today. If there's anything in particular you want me to talk about, keep an eye on. You're more than welcome to put a comment in the comment section below. Feel free to like and subscribe. Make sure that you can check out any further reading about any of this information. You can check out further links in the bit below, and I will see you next week.